Hello there, everyone. My name is Jonathan Pogash, the cocktail guru. Welcome to our cocktail show. It's called Some Good Booze. For those of you who've been joining us since the beginning, thank you. It is an absolute pleasure to bring cocktails to you and to bring positive news to you. And that's what we do. Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's what this time is. YouTube and Facebook Live. Yeah, thanks those on Facebook for joining. Good to see you. Thank you those on YouTube for joining. If you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel, please go ahead and do that, The Cocktail Guru, and click like or follow on the Facebook page. So definitely comment. You'll see the comment section. I can even put your comment on the air. I just figured out how to do that yesterday. So tell me what you're drinking today. Hey, Mike. Mike says, hello from your favorite pasta sauce family. That's right, the Del Grosso pasta sauce. Oh, it's good stuff. Local Rhode Island product. I love it. Hey, Michael, good to see you. Thanks for joining. So I'm going to make a cocktail for you. I'm going to talk about positive news, and we have a very special guest today, a good friend of mine, all the way from Washington, D.C., virtually. Okay, so here, first, some positive news to share with you, as we always do each day during the show. So here we go. Michael Jordan and Jordan Brand have announced a $100 million donation to organizations dedicated to ensuring racial equality, social justice, and greater access to education. That is awesome. Thank you, Michael Jordan and Jordan Brand. Here's the quote, okay? Through our Jordan Wings program, we have been focused on providing access to education, mentorship, and opportunity for Black youth facing the obstacles of systematic racism. But we know we can do more. And that is from June 5th. And that is really great. Thank you to that organization for doing that. So awesome. That's our positive news for the day. So I've been doing a lot of research, more research than I ever have before, on African-American bartenders and mixologists throughout history. And I made a cocktail last week. And we're going to make a cocktail today. And we're going to talk about a guy called Richard Francis, or Dick Francis. And I brought on a special guest. I've invited my good friend, DUANE Sylvestre from Washington, D.C. I'm going to add him to the stream. He's going to talk to us, give us a little chit chat about Richard Francis and about African-American bartenders, mixologists in history in general, and we'll make a cocktail. There he is, DUANE.
What's going on, Jonathan? How are you?
Good. How you doing, man? It's good to see your face.
I'm doing great, man. I'm excited to be here and sharing this experience.
What are you
I was
drinking?
hoping you were going to. I'm drinking rum and coconut water. I'm still in the islands in my head, so.
Yeah. You were hoping what?
I was hoping you were going to tell us what. I want to hear about this drink you're making today.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'd like to make it for you. So the flower pot punch. I was doing research earlier, and I saw it. There was no recipe for it. There were ingredients, and it was supposedly invented by Richard Francis, who is during the 1850s, 60s, 70s in Washington, D.C., was a fairly well-known mixologist. He bartended for the U.S. Senate, so he had the ear of a lot of politicians, and he was very well-known, I believe, for his juleps, as a lot of the Virginia, D.C. bartenders were known for, and for his use of garnish. And so this cocktail is basically a rum punch, with elaborate garnishes on top.
Well, you've found a good bit of information on Richard Francis, and unfortunately, because of the times and how things are recorded, there's not a whole lot of information that you'll find about any bartenders from that period, but far less so for African American bartenders. But Richard Francis was certainly, I think he was best known for being just that, a bartender, a great bartender. He was not just someone who showed up and made drinks. Far
Right.
too many porters of that time would have been conscious, very conscious of the social barriers that existed at the time, and would have been wary of interacting. Now, Washington, D.C., certainly Virginia's proximity to the South, afforded a little bit more opportunity for people of color in service positions. They were accustomed interacting and being around people of color. So they were a little bit more tolerant and expectant, or had expectations for people of color in those positions. Whereas further up north in Dixie, where it's often praised for freeing the poor, those poor souls of the South. They were less receptive to equal socialization of the people of color, especially post emancipation. But Richard Francis was born in Virginia, 1800s. He was not a slave. He was born to free parents, and he gained some notoriety and fame at a place called Hancock's on Pennsylvania Avenue here in DC.
Oh yeah.
And I think the best record is that this place was known for being a great place, and they had good fries.
Awesome.
He was a great bartender. He was a great bartender, and in bartending, I mean, sure, his drinks were good. His drinks were very good, stand-up cocktails that were noteworthy. But he was a conversationalist, an illiterate man. He was illiterate. He was illiterate, but he spoke and he built clientele. He was able. It was written somewhere that he was able to number his white friends in the hundreds. So he was able to build clientele by interaction and by what we consider bartending. You know, talking to our guests, finding about their day, and built a sort of, as much as he could, a peer-to-peer relationship in as much as that would have been afforded him during those times. And as you mentioned, you know, when the Senate created its own restaurant, one of his patrons, he had the ears of many senators and actors and people of affluence that visited Washington, D.C. But when that position became available, he was a shoo-in for it. It was given to him. It was given to him, and he worked there for 4 years until he died.
Wow.
And you have this illiterate child of freed blacks in a tumultuous time where he was able to see emancipation and civil war and all live through all of these things and have the ear of people that otherwise wouldn't speak to him or engage with him or even spit on him, actually.
Wow. And
he was able to amass wealth and real estate. His son was able to, I think it was University of Michigan, receive a medical degree.
Wow.
And I believe the son even came back to DC and at some point purchased Hancock's.
Oh, wow.
So, I mean, just a great success story of what can be accomplished from behind the bar just by engaging people and how that 30 inches of wood between you and your guest, it forms so many bonds. It's amazing to me. The conversations, you'd be familiar with this, the conversations you're able to have when you're behind the bar versus sitting next to someone at the bar that you've known for a few moments.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, there's a social contract that exists between patron and bartender, barkeep, porter, that doesn't exist with any other hospitality position. The closest that gets to that is concierge in a hotel.
Right.
They are the absolute closest that get, and even their interaction is deliberate. When you come to the bar, the contract is the same as at a table. You order, and I will provide. Everything you get beyond that is extra.
Right.
And in his extra offering, he was able to amass significant wealth for himself and his family and notoriety, and his name was able to be remembered, which is so important because there are far too many stories that wouldn't have been told just because of the nature of the profession. Forget that he was a black man, but no, bartending was next to evil anyway.
Yeah.
So
I love that he was not only a stupendous drink maker, but also one of the best conversationalists and really an epitome of hospitality and something that we strive towards as professionals. And I'd love to make one of his drinks. Shall I?
Please.
Okay, I'm gonna do it. So I have this really cool dual camera. Do you see that? It's like a DUANE sandwich.
Oh my goodness, what just happened?
So you see my hand, and you see my workstation, and you're in the middle, and then you also see a wide shot of me.
And I'm in the middle.
Okay,
I can point to you here or point to you over there.
Yeah, either way. So this is a rum-based cocktail. It is a rum punch, kind of an early daiquiri style cocktail. And to my mixing glass, I'm just adding 2 ounces of some nice slow aged rum. And these tropical notes in this cocktail are actually really quite lovely. Some freshly squeezed orange juice. And mind you, I did not find exact proportions for this drink. I just found the ingredients, and I don't even remember where I saw it, but I came across it during my research. This is some pineapple syrup that I have over here. It's just pineapple juice. It's a pineapple juice simple syrup that I made. Very easy. I just used pineapple juice from a can. I didn't use anything. I didn't use whole fruit. I didn't have time for that. Sorry, guys. So 1.5 ounces of pineapple syrup in there, and some citrus. So I have fresh lime juice. All the ingredients only said fresh citrus. So I'm assuming that orange was probably, well, maybe orange was not in there, but lime I'm sure was in there. So we're doing 3/4 ounce of fresh lime juice, and now I'm going to shake it. So we'll add ice, and again, traditionally this drink and most drinks, a lot of drinks at that time period, especially in the South, had crushed ice, and ice had not been introduced to cocktails and to the hospitality world until around the 1830s, 1840s. And the bartenders of those days were just going nuts with ice. They really were. And that's why this cocktail was probably served over crushed ice. And then the elaborate garnish on top was really just to really make just almost like a fantasy of drink creation, right? With the ice on top, that crushed ice and the beautiful garnishes. So I'm going to give it a shake.
So you'll remember that during that time, ice was a use it or lose it type of thing. We're still pre-refrigeration. So right. If you have the ice, whether you're using block ice or whatever we fantasize with ice now, ice then could have been a single cube of ice, depending on what was left that was stirred, or it could be these elaborate crushed creations because you had ice on hand. Yeah, right. Exactly. We could do a whole lesson on ice. It's really quite fascinating. So part of the elaborateness, I don't even know if that's a word, elaborateness, who knows? It is now. It is now, was the addition of some fresh citrus on top. Okay. Oh, hold on. My camera just froze there. Okay, there we go. Some fresh citrus as garnish. So I've got some orange and some lemon right over here. And I have from my garden, directly from my garden, some fresh mint, some chives, some sage flowers, and thyme flowers. And really, the reason why this drink was called the flower pot, or is called the flower pot, was because of these elaborate garnishes, essentially making it look like a flower pot. And that's it, you know? I mean, there probably would have been, I don't know, would they have put some sort of a straw vessel into the drink at this time? Probably not. So, you know, all of these garnishes, and I always love to, I mean, it's true, right? We taste with our eyes first. And this is really the epitome of a drink that you taste with your eyes first, and then you taste with your nose. So when you bring it all up to your nose, you get all of those beautiful aromas. I'm going to take a little sip for you. Actually, cheers, Dwayne. Cheers, brother. It'd be nice if you had a little julep spoon there to hold the ice in. So, yeah, I don't. It's lovely. It's easy to drink. It's tropical. It's refreshing. Great. Awesome. How's everything else, man? Just living the dream. Some of the restaurants are starting to open back up. People are starting to go back outside. So it's good to see people. Yes. And people are still relatively trying to be safe in all the interactions that we're having recently. So it's encouraging. People were inside for a long time. So hopefully we're able to stay outside and things keep progressing, trending in a positive manner. Yeah, I know. Same here in Massachusetts. Places just started opening for outdoor seating. And we'll see. We've got a couple of comments that I just figured out how to show on screen. Do you see that, Dwayne? What you got?
Brian Weber says Dwayne drinking out of a copper shaker cup. Badass.
That's right. Or necessity.
And then Fred from Boston, he says he has a question. Was this written up in the newspaper, or do his recipes appear in a book? Well, in David Wondrich's Imbibe, he does mention Richard Francis, and he says for at least 2 generations afterward, this was after, well, post 1890s, a fruit garnish on a cocktail was known as the garbage. For the record, that garbagey cocktail was the creation of the great black bartender Richard Francis. And he served a lot of his cocktails, it says, with a slice of lemon muddled up with some pulverized sugar, dashes of maraschino, angostura, and raspberry cordial, and a shot of spirits, shaken, well strained, and garnished with slices of banana and orange.
All the junk.
All the junk, basically. And then, Fred also says, look at that. Straws came about with the cobbler in the 1830s. So a straw was a possibility.
There you go.
There you go. Fred is a wealth of knowledge. He is one of my regulars on this show.
I miss Mr. Yarn when I used to visit Boston. Matter of fact, our early book clubs that we used to host. I met him then, and amazing student of the cocktail.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. Well, I want to give you a little cheers, and I hope to see you very, very soon in person. I hope to make it down to DC very soon.
My brother, be well.
You too, man. Thank you so much for your knowledge, and I'm continuing to do as much research as I possibly can, and hopefully folks at home can do the same.
Well, let's talk offline. I want to learn about this camera setup you have.
Oh yeah, totally. And we'll close out the show with this. Fred says, "Miss you, Dwayne." Aww. All right, cool. Thanks, everyone. Take care. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you tomorrow at 5 p.m. also. Take care.
Cheers.
Cheers.